Like it or not, the future of airline travel has changed post the COVID lockdown. I will share the latest travel updates in airports. I'll show how the Transportation Security Administration is adapting screening procedures and how your airplane passenger experience will continue to change post COVID. After the lockdown quarantine a couple of months, our family was ready to bust out our carry-on suitcases and get out and travel. We were able to fly on 4 different airlines this summer and go through 5 different airports post-COVID. Now, when I say post-COVID, I mean after the lockdown period of COVID. I can tell you the changes that have happened this summer and as of today, the latest updates, but airlines are updating their websites and making changes weekly. The Transportation Security Administration is updating and modifying their website almost weekly. So these are the changes as of August 2020. As an aside to this travel video, I want to remind you that if you get ugly in your comments about our government or the TSA, I will hide you completely and forever from my channel, just so we're clear. Here are some ways that airline policies have changed post-COVID. I will link Delta Airlines and United Airlines video of their disinfecting procedures. You will also see the benefits of the airflow inside an airplane. You're going to see how they use HEPA filters, which are the same filters that are used in hospital surgery rooms. Airlines have even begun using an ultraviolet C lighting when they can't wipe down surfaces in order to disinfect areas. Some other travel post-COVID changes that airlines have made are with the mask policy. There are 2 new mask updates. Number 1, masks cannot have a vent or an exhaust valve. And number 2, a plastic face shield by itself is not allowed inside airplanes. You can wear a plastic face shield in addition to a cloth face covering, but you cannot just wear that plastic shield because it doesn't secure over your nose and mouth, which are the main places they think that the respiratory droplets are coming from. So a regular mask is allowed, a gaiter, a scarf. And in airports now, face coverings are required throughout most airports in America. But we have seen that no one is really enforcing that. I don't know whose job it is to enforce it throughout the airport. But when you speak to an airline employee, you will need to have a face covering. There is fine print about masks in the airplanes if you do not go to their website to do your own research. When you purchase a ticket, you have to check a box or check that you've read the fine print saying that cloth face coverings are now required. You cannot even proceed with your purchase unless you check that box. Then when you check in for your flight 24 hours prior, you are required to check or acknowledge that you know that face masks are required. There are still travel restrictions to certain countries and cities post-COVID. Before you buy an airplane ticket post-COVID, check the travel restrictions for that country or that city where you're traveling to. The U.S. State Department is a great website for travel restrictions right now. If you want to travel to another country, you can see the quarantine limits and what is required to have admittance into that city or country. The future of international travel may require a COVID test result. I Googled rapid test near me and I found one that is in Houston. Some cities have already been requiring a negative COVID test result, but the test must have been administered 72 hours before your departure. I would also Google U.S. Embassy and then that city or country. I found that Germany may make you have a negative COVID test result 48 hours before you land in their country, which may be about 72 hours if you do the math. The Department of Homeland Security now has an airborne virus decay calculator, so check out that link below. Airlines and TSA are going touchless or contactless post-COVID. As of August 2020, TSA is wanting to limit physical interactions at security checkpoints. They want to lessen the transmissibility of the coronavirus. So they just want you to hold up your ticket and then you're going to pass through your ID holding it the whole time, but you're the one who's going to place it on the ID reader and then bring it back. So they do not have to have contact with it. At ticket counters, at the TSA security podiums, at most restaurants, there is going to be a plexi shield or plastic shield in front of these officers and employees. And most of them have a circle cut out that you're going to pass your hand through holding your ID to read your ID at TSA as well as when you board the plane. You will also have to lower your mask while they inspect your identification against your ID. ID, and then you can put it right back up and continue the security process. Someone asked if the little nose wire is going to make the alarm go off going through security, and I asked TSA on Facebook Messenger and they said that it would not. If it does by chance, you'll just have to take it off and then so they can look at it and then put it right back on. There have been other changes post-COVID in the TSA line, and one of those changes is for food or snacks that are in one of your carry-on bags or your personal item. There are two parts to this new TSA rule. One, all food has to be in a clear bag for regular security. And number two, that clear bag of food has to be put in the gray bin to be screened separately from your bags. I have a video that details all of this that I will link in the description box as well as in the iCards. And just so you know, if you go on your desktop and watch one of the iCard videos, it will not get rid of this one. It will open a new window. Another TSA change for regular security, not pre-check, is that wallets, your phone, your watch, your belt, all of that needs to stay in your carry-on bags going through security. They do not want it to set off the alarm and then them have to touch it. Remember, they're trying to go contactless. So they want all of those things inside the bag because they're easy to screen if they're inside the bag. Like they don't block another object like food does. Every time I bring a bag of coffee through airport security, it makes the alarm go off and I have to get out of line, even when I put it in my food clear bag in the gray bin. What TSA does want in the gray bins is food, electronics, shoes, and liquids. One allowance now post-COVID is a 12-ounce container of hand sanitizer. Make sure that it is 12 ounces. One of my viewers said they always have problems going through the TSA checkpoint at Columbus, Ohio, and her husband got nabbed for having a 6-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer, and I don't know if it's because the rule says the bottle should be 12 ounces or if he had it in his liquids bag, but her husband was prepared ahead of time and he had it on his phone, the site that says that a 12-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer is allowed, so they did let him take it through security. I also have a video about packing medicines that may complement this video that I will also link for you. A great travel tip for the future of airline travel is to have these liquids, belts, wallets all packed in their appropriate places before you leave your house. That way you have less stress when you get to the airport, and then have them in an outside pocket or somewhere that's easily accessible, like your liquids bag and your foods bag. We want to take the stress out of all these stressful changes that are happening. I enrolled in the CLEAR program at airport security. It is not part of airport security. It just is a way of identifying yourself with your fingerprints or your irises, and I have a video that details my review of how that happened, and I still think a discount code is available. But I do think that using CLEAR and going touchless by scanning your irises and things like that is the future of getting into arenas, football games, buying. You can now, at one location, you can buy your concessions with your irises. In the future, you will need your airline's app in order to pull up your ticket. They will not be handing out paper tickets anymore. I don't know when exactly that's going to enroll in every airline, but that is the future of it. And that way they do not have to touch the paper. You do not have to touch the paper ticket either. It's just another way to possibly cut down on the transmissibility of COVID-19 so that we can travel more. Also, once you get to your gate, you may be asked to refresh your app for that airline, and that's mainly if you don't have a seat assignment yet or you are flying standby because you missed that flight before. So just be sure to listen more attentively to the gate agent once you get to your gate. If you find this video helpful so far, be sure to click on subscribe and the little bell, and you'll never miss a video that I put out. I usually put out a free travel tip video once a week. I'm a Houston pilot wife, and I share travel tips to help you travel the globe, hopefully one time again, without a worry in the world. I'm also on Instagram as Travel Tips by Laurie. Okay, here's some other changes to airline travel post-COVID. Airlines are starting to add more flights, but they are still about 50% of what they were a year ago. This change to you as a passenger means that if you miss your connection or if your flight is so delayed that the crew times out for their workday, you may not be able to get on that flight until the next day. And one positive viewer, she just found a local Special Olympics event and she volunteered to work at it, and they used her, and that helped pass the time. I have heard that some TSA checkpoints are having their officers clean the gray bins, but in our 5 airports we were in this summer, we never saw that. I've also been asked if you can wear gloves through airport security, and I really do not know that answer, but I don't think wearing gloves helps because everything you touch is transmitting whatever virus was on that previous thing. Right after you get out of airport security, there are now hand sanitizing stations, and usually there's a restroom, so you are able to wash your hands after that. In most airports, post-COVID travelers can find food and coffee now. The major restaurants are not open because there aren't very many flights during the day, but the fast food restaurants and the news type of stores are mostly open. At some point in the future of airline travel, I think a government agency or some agency is going to be taking our temperatures before we go through security or something like that. When we went to Bozeman, Montana this summer, right before we exited security in Bozeman, there was a military group who was checking everybody's temperatures. But because of all the expenses that go along with that, I think it'll be a few months or a year before that happens. As far as a COVID-19 vaccine goes, it's become so political that I really do not think that's going to help open up areas, but I do think it will help some people feel better. Every year I choose not to get the regular flu vaccine, but with the coronavirus vaccine, I'm assuming it will be required and I'll have to make that personal choice whether or not to get it. There are so many travel emotions right now, right? If we can just get back to the agree to disagree mentality and just be nice to everyone while we're on this journey, no pun intended, we can all just not be ugly. Airlines have changed their boarding process post-COVID. Before this pandemic, you would get in line based on your group name or number. But now, when you get to your gate, they may ask you to refresh your app, and then they're going to tell you they're boarding from the back of the plane to the front of the plane. And the only reason I bring this up is because it seems like it's really confusing to some passengers, and I'm not sure why, but just know that they're going to start at the back of the plane. So listen and then look at the number, whatever seat row you have, and that might help. When it's time to get on the airplane, you will notice that there are several changes now post-COVID. One of those changes is that you're required to scan your ticket on the gate reader before you get on the jet bridge, and another requirement in order to get on the airplane is that you have your mask on before you get onto the jet bridge. Airlines are continuing to sell the middle seats because demand is there, and most passengers realize that even with an empty seat, that still is not a 6-foot distance for being socially distant, so they are willing to take the risk. And by wearing a mask, you're blocking your droplets from moving forward. And the CDC says that that may help. Food and beverages will now be limited inside the airplane, but now airline food seems like the least of our worries. At the beginning of the summer, we got nothing, but now we get either a bottle or a cup of water or a cup of ice water or a soda now, and you'll get some kind of prepackaged snack. And then you'll also receive, right when you walk on the airplane, an antibacterial wipe, and some of them are just sopping wet with alcohol, and you just feel so clean, you could like take a bath with it. I think it was Southwest, they had our little snack water bottle and our antibacterial wipe in a little clear baggie that we got right when we sat down. Even though airlines now say that their airplanes are being cleaned in between every flight, this is a way to help you make sure that all of the parts that you can touch are really clean with that antibacterial wipe. What you're going to clean is the tray table, the armrests, and the seatbelt buckle. Remember that the TSA says that you are now allowed a whole bucket full of antibacterial wipes, but I say a travel tip to save space is to disperse them in plastic baggies. You can give those baggies to family members, or you can use them at all of the different places in your hotel room or wherever you're vacationing to. Now more than ever, you can see the benefits of you being the only person to touch your carry-on bag or your personal item. If you want to see my recently uploaded videos, I have a playlist for you, and I will have it right here at the end of this video. I also have videos to help you with packing tips if it's your first time in an airplane. I really appreciate the time you watch my videos, and your view is very much appreciated amongst our worldwide community. I want to tell everyone across the globe, we will see you soon. Thanks again for your time.